My beloved Madridista family all over the world, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to Madrid on a pretty shitty rainy day. Listen, I didn't put anything out the last 2-3 days because we've had the holidays here, so there wasn't too much going on. But I do want to get you up to speed on some of the latest news. Just a quick update on the most important news of the last few days. I also want to give you guys some comments relating to some of the discussions that you guys have in the comment section, which I really, really enjoy. And, I think you guys raise a lot of really interesting points that I want to address. So we'll talk about some of those. And then I'll give you guys just a couple of thoughts ahead of the Atletico de Bilbao match tomorrow evening, which, of course, I'll be attending. So thanks for coming back to the channel. We're growing. This family is growing like a weed, in all corners of the world. So I'm just incredibly excited. So thank you guys for being with me again. Let's get started. All right, Madridistas, welcome back. Okay, let me talk about some of the news in the last few days. So first, let's talk about Toni Kroos. It hasn't been formally announced, but it looks like there is a verbal agreement that Toni Kroos will stay one more year. He's currently 34 years old. As I mentioned in other videos, Real Madrid has a policy that above a certain age, which I think is 30 or 31, the club only does 1-year renewals, so they will not make a long-term commitment to anybody over a certain age, which I think is a smart thing to do. But by all accounts, Toni Kroos will be staying another year, which I think is really, really good news. Listen, we've talked about Toni many times on this channel, and he really brings something so special to the team. And I think maybe now that he's 34, maybe there's some matches that maybe he won't start. I think very, very physical matches away from home, might be situations where you maybe wouldn't start him. But every time he comes on the pitch, he makes such a difference because he has just such an incredible way of reading the game. I think he's one of the most intelligent players I think I've ever seen in my life. And if you think about Toni Kroos, if somebody told you that a player that wasn't particularly fast, wasn't particularly strong, wasn't a particularly good dribbler, and, but would end up being one of the greatest midfielders in the history of the game. It's all down to his intelligence, his ability to read matches, and the pinpoint precision of his passing. So I think this is great news. I think Ancelotti will learn to use him efficiently next year in the right moments. But I still think he has an incredible amount of value to add to the team. So very good news there. Okay, Lunin, he has a contract to 2025, but the latest news is that the club is going to be extending that contract and increasing his salary. So, I think this makes a lot of sense. We've talked about Courtois coming back. We've talked about some of the concerns, in terms of Courtois coming back and the psychological impact of the injuries, etc. So I think it's a very smart thing to tie Lunin down. And the more continuity Lunin has had, the better he's played. So I think it's, again, a very smart move with a view to the next 2-3 years. Okay, another thing to mention, Camavinga. I don't know if you guys watched the France match the other day, but Camavinga was taken off and he had an ankle sprain, and I was watching it with my uncle, and we were like, oh my God, please tell me Camavinga's not injured. So the good news is that it was a very slight ankle sprain, but he did recover, and he actually trained normally with the rest of the squad today, which is great news. So I would imagine he'll start tomorrow, but if not, at least we know for sure that he'll be okay for the Man City match, which is what we're all thinking about at this point. Another bit of good news, Militao is now training with the rest of the team in a completely regular way. By all accounts, the intensity level of his play in training was like the Militao of old. So he is 100%. Now I think he'll probably start on the bench tomorrow, but it's great news that we have him available and that he'll be ready for Man City as well. So okay, and then one final thing in terms of like news updates and stuff. Now for my Brazilian subscribers out there, if you watch the Spain-Brazil, I just want to say I'm sorry, okay? Because the two penalties that were awarded to Spain were ridiculous. I mean, neither of those were penalties. I don't. I mean, La Liga has gotten so corrupt that, I mean, we're even corrupting friendlies. So to my Brazilians out there, você tem razão. Those were not penalties, and Brazil certainly deserved more out of that match. But again, just another note on that match. I thought Vini and Rodrigo looked very good, and Enric looked very good as well. So pretty good news all around. Okay, now let's move on to some of the some of the comments that, I love the discussions and the back and forth and a lot of the, tit for tat on the comment section. And I do want to address some of the issues that you guys raised there. So first of all, on the whole Barça Negreira thing, let me just say the following, and I'm going to say this for the last time. We sometimes get Barça supporters kind of infiltrating the channel and, giving us crap. And, I'm going to say this for the last time. Barça has admitted to making the payments, and that's a fact. Negreira has admitted to receiving the payments, and that is a fact. The Spanish prosecutors have said publicly that there is ample evidence of systemic corruption, and that's why they're moving forward with the prosecution. This is a fact. And the statistical analysis, the distortions that those payments created in terms of referee decisions, red cards for and against, penalties for and against, is unequivocal, and it's not contestable. You cannot argue with this because numbers don't lie. Those payments created the greatest statistical distortion in the history of the sport. And I did a special video about this, which you guys should watch, and I explain how this is just irrefutable. So let's leave that issue aside. Okay, another comment that you guys are making is, that I'm a little bit too, I sounded too scared of the draw in the Champions League, and a few of you came back and said, "Come on, man. I mean, we are Real Madrid," and you're absolutely correct. I mean, I think we can get through this. I mean, if there's any team in the world that is capable of the impossible against all odds, it's Real Madrid. So, my talking about how difficult the draw was by no way means that I don't think we can get through this. And I've been discussing it a lot, with my uncle lately. And I truly believe that the team that comes out with the most hunger and the most offensive-minded, mindset, I think that's the team that will go through. And if we play the football we know how to play, which is uninhibited attacking football with speed and quickness, I think we can win. So don't get me wrong. I wasn't, suggesting that I don't think we can do it. I definitely think we can. Okay, a third thing I want to comment on. The video that I put out about, Franco and Barça, look, this was a bit cheeky and provocative, okay? I mean, I don't really believe that Barça was Franco's team. I mean, of course not. Actually, the team that he supported was Atlético de Madrid, because it used to be called Atlético de Aviación. It was a team that derived from the military. So that was really his team. But the point I was trying to make is that Franco helped Barça a lot. And I think he helped Barça more than Real Madrid. So, and another point is, why did I put that title on the video? Well, just so you know how it feels when people invent bullshit narratives about your club. So if you don't like hearing that Barça was, Franco's team, well, we don't like hearing it either. So, that was done deliberately to get you guys, to give you a taste of your own medicine. Okay, let's talk about the Rodrigo Brahim situation, because a lot of you, kind of debate what we're going to do next year and if Rodrigo might be sold or things of that nature. Listen, I've been following this club for half a century, and I can tell you that the players that play are the players that are most fit and who are most effective at any point in time. And when you play in Real Madrid, you have to be ready to go from starter to the bench and from the bench to starter and back and forth as many times as it takes during the course of your years in Real Madrid. This is the nature of the club, and I think Rodrigo will stay. I think he's an incredibly valuable player, but we have to be aware of form, and Rodrigo's form has just not been quite the same. His finishing has been a little off, and it's coincided with Brahim playing very, very well. Now, he's been playing in the midfield, which I think is a very bad idea, but I think that, next year and even what's left of this year, I think you're going to see Brahim play up front on the wing a lot more, and sometimes to the detriment of Rodrigo. So this is the nature of the beast, and you guys can have different opinions about it, but this is Real Madrid, and this is just the way it is. So, those are my thoughts on that. And then, finally, a lot of comments about the Vini racism issue, and, you guys probably saw the video that I did about that. Look, a lot of you say, Vinny has to just sort of concentrate, and he shouldn't get so rattled, and, he shouldn't get provoked, and, there's a little bit of victim blaming. And look, the only thing I can tell you, and I live here and I've been following this stuff my whole life, there has never, ever in the history of La Liga, ever been a specific persecution on the part of the media against one player. Never. I'm telling you, never. And we have seen players in this league that have been much more provocative than Vini, okay? Because Dani Alves was, what about Dani Alves? Neymar, Luis Suarez, give me a break. So this is not about Vini being provocative. This is a very, very deliberate campaign against Vini, which is based on systemic anti-Madridismo, and it's spilt over to the public, and it's expressed sometimes in really awful racist ways. So, I'm not changing my mind on this. I think what they're doing to Vini is wrong, and I'm going to stand by that statement. Anyway, okay, now let me just give you just a couple of thoughts ahead of the Athletic de Bilbao match tomorrow. The league is pretty much in the bag, and I think if we win, tomorrow, it's pretty much game over. Just remember one thing. Jude is finally back. He had a 2-game suspension because of that ridiculous red card. But Jude will be back. Now, unfortunately, Vini will be out. So Vini, the player that receives the most fouls in the entire league is now going to have to miss a match because of accumulation of yellow cards. And the defenders that hack him and slap him and punch him, they never see a yellow card. So unfortunately, Vini will not be playing tomorrow. And I think the impact in terms of the lineup, it's a little bit unpredictable. Joselu hasn't been getting a lot of minutes, and I wouldn't be surprised if he did play, with Brahim and Rodrigo and Joselu up front. It's quite possible. I'm definitely expecting to see Brahim, and we're all hoping to see more minutes out of Arda Güler, who in recent training sessions has been blowing everyone away. So anyway. Those are my thoughts. That's what's going on. Sorry I was away for a few days because there was nothing going on. But I will give you my post-match analysis and my thoughts on the Athletic de Bilbao match. So, again, thanks for joining me as always. I love you guys, and thanks for the comments and the likes and subscribing and all that stuff. And, let's keep growing this family, okay? Thank you for everything, and I'll see you in the next video, and a la Madrid.